Well, hello. Good evening. All right. Hold on for a sec. Let me just get things set up. Background music here. There we go. All right. Anybody in chat still alive? Or just fell asleep to all the music? Alright. Let me just get that up nice and big. Back over here. There we go. Or, don't need to pick it up. That works great. Hello, chat. How are you chatting on? Is that too loud, by the way? That's probably fine, isn't it? Maybe a bit loud. Alright. Okay. My day's been pretty poopy, but it happens. Whatever. Yeah, we're here to do a Q&A kind of thing for the upcoming major updates for Kandria. So, hello, you're here. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Since this is a Q&A, I did not prepare very much, so I'm gonna be dependent on you, the chat. That's you. Yes, you. I'm pointing at you. Through the screen, through the internet, I'm pointing at you. So please ask stuff in the chat so I can answer the stuff, and I'll try my best. You can ask stuff about the editor, you can ask stuff about the game, you can ask stuff about modding. Whatever you like. Yeah. I'm gonna try and keep things spoiler free though, so just people can haven't yet had the time to finish everything can watch this in the VOD or live. So please don't ask me spoilery questions, but anything else about the engine, about what we have planned, or I should say what I have planned. Yeah. I'm interested in the editor itself, maybe make a new room sketch or edit an existing one, and also seeing the Lisp's superpowers, how you can maybe playtest the editor changes right away. Okay. So I don't know, are you in the Discord or not? If you're not in the Discord, kandria.com/Discord. If you don't like Discord, I completely understand. But that's the easiest way to like follow stuff because it's kind of a community hub and we don't have anything else. I did for those that are on the Discord or will be in the future, there is a mod channel on that where I posted a sample test zip demo level, which you can see here. Whoops. So this is a thing I threw together real quick. Yeah, I can post it in the chat. Hold on. So the URL should be easy to guess. Yeah, so this is a short demo level I threw together. It's meant to be stupid difficult, so let me see if I can still beat it. Whoop. Great, I can't. Or at least not right away. Okay. Ah, nope. Just barely not. Something isn't quite right with those rumbling platforms, I think. Your audio is a bit crackling. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, I did it. Where's my hold on, give me a second. I can't hear my mic looped back, so this might be just give me a minute. Oh Lord. Is that better? Is my audio still crackling, or am I good? Can you give a quick demo of the editor's features / workflow? Yes, sure, I can do that. Seems to be good. Good, my side. Okay. Sorry about that. My audio setup is all sorts of heck, so if it happens again, please let me know so I can reset the device. Because it seems to like get desynced or something, and then it gets nasty. Anyway, so editor is actually, for those that didn't know, the editor is already live and has always been live since the game was released. It was even in their pre-release, it was just not advertised. So the way you open the editor is you load into a game from the main menu. You can't do it from the main menu yet. I want to do that. But you load into a game and then you press the section or tilde key, which is the key below escape. If you don't have a keyboard, I don't know how to help you. But it's that key. It should immediately switch into edit mode. So the editor is just part of the game. That's how you do things. You can do that during gameplay at any time. You can even do it while dialogue is open, though I don't recommend doing that. And you just press the key again, and it exits back out into gameplay. So that's how that works. While you're in edit mode, you see everything. You can, with holding Alt and then clicking to drag, you can pan the view. In the top, you can zoom. You can click on stuff. With tab, you deselect the entity so you can select something new, and then you click on it. It opens up the properties on the left pane here. And then it selects a tool. So by default, that's the freeform tool. The icons are a bit fucked up. I don't know why. And then for the freeform tool, you can typically move or resize stuff. So I can move the player around, position yourself somewhere. You can select something else like this moving platform, move that around. You can also resize them so you can make them bigger or smaller. For the moving platforms, there's some good properties, like on the side here you have the maximum speed and the falling direction. So whoops, wow, that's already super cool. So here, for instance, I'm falling in X direction, so it's going this way. And you can manipulate that stuff. You can change for things like the moving platforms or a chunk. This sort of the places that a puzzle is in and where your camera locks to is called a chunk. So the entire world is put together out of individual chunks that connect. Each chunk has like has a tile set that it uses for tiles. Same goes for moving platforms. They're also tile things. There's a couple other things that are tile things, layers, but you can switch that. So there's different tile sets available. And for some stuff, like for tile entities, you get a right side panel, which for the tile ones gives you the tile sheet. You can pick between, so we can switch to the paint tool up here, and then I can pick a layer that I draw on. Typically it's 2, and then I can pick a tile from here, and then I can just draw in there. Ta-da. Pressing Z does undo. You also have undo from up here. Y does redo. Changing the layer draws stuff behind or in front, so all the ground layer and the player layer and so forth are on layer 2, so that's the sort of middle ground. Then you have a background layer and then a behind wall layer, so all the walls are on layer 0, all details and so forth layer 1, 2, and then you have 3 and 4 for foreground stuff. Are properties displayed as a direct representation of the underlying class object, or there's a layer in between? These are just this is just an inspector basically written in Alloy, so this is just like, it just shows some of the slot contents, not all of them. Like it doesn't show everything, obviously. There's a lot more to the player than just this, for instance, but it shows like slots that it knows the type of. For sure, it shows, if it can, an appropriate like editing element for. So that's very generic. It kind of blows because it often shows stuff you really don't care about, but so far it's worked fine enough. A bit whatever. So let's add a new room, right? So we're gonna go to insert. We're gonna create a new chunk. We're gonna make sure, let's do it in default stuff. Click OK. So we get a new chunk. You can move it around. The editor tries to be smart about placing the chunks, so you can't merge chunks together. It'll try to keep it outside of other things. With the freeform tool, if you go to the edges, you can resize. So that's a bit wonky, as you can see. Yeah. That's fantastic. Thank you. Lord. Yeah, I ruined it. I'm gonna be fixing that. That's one of the things that needs to be fixed. so far. I have not fixed it because it came up like not often enough for me to care. But definitely one of the things that needs fixing. So let's make a more vertical room, maybe. Why not? So once you have your chunk set up in roughly the size you want, you can press L, which is the shortcut for line drawing tool. It's up here. And then you can drag solids. So this is the solid layer, which is activated with the switch over here. That switch is pressed, you're drawing on the solids layer, which defines the intractable tiles. So draw a floor here. And then do that. Maybe. I don't know. I don't have an idea for like a cool puzzle right now. So let's just make some kind of room. I'm not the best at coming up with puzzles to begin with anyway. So just draw a thing to show off how it works roughly. Let's make this a junction room. Why not? 2 exits. Why not? Like this, an overhang, like that. There you go. In this particular level, I saw elements that are animated. How is that managed? If you plan to show this later, of course, ignore this question. What do you mean? In what sense? Managed. Are there enemy spawners or some access to scripting? Build an arena level. Yes, there's spawners. I'll get to that in a second. Just reached the end of the game today, but still a lot to do with the time trial and optional missions. Looking forward to the editor update. Cool. Welcome. Feel free to ask questions and suggest features. I'm just going through the basic level editing process. What are the tool selector shortcuts? There's B for browse, F for freeform, P for paint, L for line draw. I don't know if these have shortcuts. I don't remember. I'm going to also obviously be, or I guess not obviously, but I'm going to be writing documentation. There is a documentation page, but it's kind of out of date. So I'm going to be updating that along with other stuff. The vertical panel on the left, for example, that moves when the player reaches it. I was wondering how, if you manage that, to test different moments. Test different moments of a room. Sorry, I'm not parsing your question. Like, are you asking if you can create like new level elements that like have different behaviors or something, or? Sorry, I'm a bit slow today, so bear with me. Right. So I have a basic outline of a room. The line tool is like super useful. With left click, you just drag and it automatically creates slopes as well. With right click, you drag and it just deletes it. Same for the paint tool. If you right click, it deletes the tile that you drew. Once I have a basic outline like this, I select the correct tile. So we're gonna let's just make a region 2 one here. Why not? So refresh real quick because the panel doesn't notice. Up here, this gives you, so each tile set can have different, or each tile map can have different sets of tiles. This one has a rock and a metal one. With the rock one, I can then, in paint mode, I can control click and it'll auto tile. The auto tiling requires knowing what is inside and outside of the block. Like if you just have a line, it doesn't know. So when you control click, it fills everything with dots, and that means it's inside. So it just control click a bunch, and it does this. And it randomly puts these tiles together. I'm not sure if that comes through on stream very well, but let's zoom. Oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure why that's not displaying. Wow, freaky. I've never seen that before. Well, but it randomizes the tiles from the tile map data, so like picking a layout you like is fairly easy. Maybe the question is, if you change an element at the end of the room, do you test it while starting at the beginning each time, or can you also position the player to hang onto the side wall? In this test level, there's a vertical wall that slides down when touched. If there is a way in the editor to test these temporal behaviors, you get keyframes that set the room level in a particular state. No, so you just have to create the state yourself. So it started moving and you can enter edit mode. Pretty much all the entities are set up to reset when you exit edit mode, so that you always have like a consistent state. But like if you want to section things off, you can always just deselect everything and then press H for here, which places the player where you're pointing, so you can zoom around real quick. You can also create checkpoints. So this is like if I insert checkpoint, the checkpoint is kind of trigger that creates a save point. So if I place one, let me actually make an example out of this. So let me add some spikes. Spikes, please. So let me add these spikes here. If I go into the next room and I die on the spikes, it places me back at the start of the room. So the game automatically checkpoints whenever you room transition. But you can add these trigger volumes, checkpoint trigger volumes, which save the position whenever the player enters them. So dying will checkpoint there. If I go back there, I have another checkpoint at the beginning. So you can enter checkpoints. You can also do those temporarily during testing and then remove them later, or just position yourself. Like typically, the rooms aren't very long, and I just do them until they feel right. Yeah. All right, let's remove that again. Okay. All right. So another question was trigger volumes for spawners. So it is called a spawner. Need to increase that scroll speed, Lord Almighty. So enter spawner volume. Let's place that like this, and then, or yeah, sure, that's whatever. Like that maybe, and then spawn type is the name of an object, so you can see things you can spawn here. These are all names of objects, so we can make a drone or a dummy or a zombie or whatever. So let's make this spawn a zombie. So Kandria zombie. Or not. What? Why is it not liking that? Zombie. Oh, it's just zombie without the prefix. Alright. Spawn count is how many it spawns. So let's just spawn a shit ton. Why not? Spawn arguments, you can do stuff like, so this is a list where you pass like the level of it. Auto deactivate means when all of the spawned entities are cleared, the trigger volume is going to deactivate itself. And then after that, it's not going to spawn new stuff. In this case, if it should be like repeatable, we don't want that. So there they are. Whee. Bluey. Oh, that's interesting. Very cool. Good game. I don't know how that happened. I haven't seen that in ages. Can I still hit you? Yes, excellent. Very good. Alright. Well, that's cool. I thought I fixed that. Guess not. So the spawners, in case you didn't notice from playing the game yourself, the way they work is if you enter a room that's not adjacent to the room the spawner is in, the spawner resets and will spawn things on you if you enter an adjacent room. So similarly, if you leave the adjacent room, it'll despawn stuff that's still spawned in. That basically makes sure that you're not gonna have like tons and tons of stuff spawned into the world all the time, and it automatically, you know, like garbage collects stuff, so you don't need to worry about performance too much. So that's spawners. You can also spawn multiple types of things at once by packing them in a list. So I can do 16 each of a zombie and a drone like that. But we don't really want that. It's underlined with red. I'm not sure if that comes through on stream, but like if it's underlined with red, like there's a syntax problem or something, and it's not going to accept the value. So let's see what else. Let's add some, my favorite element, some lanterns. Why not? Copy that. I failed. There we go. Easy. By default, if there's no adjacent chunk, it's gonna like not let you pass through, so you can't go beyond a chunk up or sideways, but you can fall down, so if there's a gap, it's gonna be a death at the bottom. That's how that works. What else? Let's see. You can also, so the auto tiling I showed you, right, with the paint tool control click in an area, I can also do that selectively. So for instance, if I switch to the metal one and then I select the paint bucket, I can actually drag a region and it'll only tile that region that I dragged with that selected tile set. So that way you can like very easily do mix and match the different regions. Oh, it doesn't have slopes. Cool. We used that a lot later in development, and it really sped things up. What else? What else do we even have? Like, what is this? I forget what this tool even is. Oh, rectangle tool. Right. There's also rectangle stamping tool. So if you have something that you want to repeat, for instance, this stack of boxes with the rectangle tool. That's not the rectangle tool. The rectangle tool, we can just drag that up. So both the paint and the rectangle tool can actually like stamp a region of tiles, not just one tile. So if I just click, I just get that tile I clicked on. So if I click and then shift click another one, it selects this spanning region. So I just click button there and then shift click top, and then I get a stamp, so I can stamp that in. And the rectangle tool, it'll like repeat it instead of just pasting it over each other, which can be quite useful for certain kinds of tiles like the tunnels and whatever. We also have this tool, which is the tile drag and drop tool. So I select a region and then I can drag it. If I shift click, it copies it instead of moving it. So that's also occasionally useful for moving tiles around when you notice you hacked something up. This tool is for debugging movement mechanics. You really don't need that, so don't worry about the walking man. How do you export and play a level? You go to File, Save World As, you give it a name, A, save it, and you get a zip file, and then someone else can load world. Open the zip file, and it'll load the world. That's all. That's how you do it. I'm gonna add a menu, like a proper menu, where you can put worlds into a folder, and it'll show like a nice menu with like a preview and like who made it and whatever and the name of it. So all of that stuff is not in yet, but it's on the to-do list. Yeah. let's see. What else is there to talk about? Not sure. Okay, this is probably better, actually. Larger fonts. Should probably talk a bit more about the different properties you have for the chunks. So the tile data is obviously the tile set you have available. There's the camp, which is the surface tile set stuff. There is debug, which is like a testing room. There's region 1, which is the first underground region. Region 2, which is the middle, the lush one, and the region 3 is the volcano one. Subway is for the train stations, so that's a specific one. And Tundra is a very old one that was part of the prototype phase, and it hasn't been updated in ages. So background is what the parallax background in the Mac is going to be. So there's a couple different ones you can choose from already. BG overlay, so that's a kind of late feature we introduced. Let me see if I can show that off. Yeah. So if I go onto layer 0, I can paint background tiles. So, but you might see that these are like very weird and red, and that's strange, isn't it? And in the tile editor, they're like this bright pink. So we wanted something that let us add more detail to the background without having to like manually tile everything out, which means that for these very bright purple pixels, they're actually replaced with the background overlay that we have here. So we'll select that. That's the wrong one. That's also the wrong one. Fuck, where is the right one? Heck, mine's BG. Here, let's get... No, that's the wrong one as well. God darn it, where is it? Is it not visible? Huh. That's bizarre. Well, I'm not sure why it's not in the list. That's another thing to figure out. Cool. Very good. Excellent. Anyway, I'll put that on the to-do. Okay. Anyway, so it plasters, it tiles another bigger texture over it to avoid repetition, which was very handy. Right. Shift clicking will bucket fill. So that's another thing. Like if you quickly need to fill an entire region, shift click, shift left click will place the tile, and that shift right click clear it. Standard bucket fill rules will apply. Will custom tile data also be possible? Yes. I'm not sure yet whether it's going to be part of the level editor update or part of the modding update. It might be part of the modding update because it's requires a bit more stuff. Hello, Selwyn. Technically, you can do it already, but not with any like assistance at all. So you would have to like fumble around, let's put it that way. Right, so that's the background and background overlay. The GI is the illumination model that's used. So there's different kinds of lighting settings. None and one are just like, one is like complete disable flat lighting. I don't remember. None is same thing but brighter. And then you have different kinds of lighting levels. So the cave one is like, the lava cave one is like reddish. Lava interior similarly. reddish in tint, and then you have like the desert. The desert one is one that doesn't have the illumination from the player, but rather from the global sun position. So that's for surface ones where you want to have like a day-night cycle. That the desert one is useful. And then the other ones are all centered around the player and have different lighting conditions. So like extra dark is like for spoopy. If you want to make a spoopy level, you can do that. That's the lighting. You can also play around with the lighting in the editor itself without having to go in and out. So if you go into edit, change... Whoa, this text box is... This box is freaked out. Nice. Good job, me. I don't know why it's freaked out. But you can change it here and then you see what's going on immediately. Let's see. In desert. Whoop. Yeah, alright. That's another thing to fix, I guess. Change lighting box is F. Alright. Anyway, so you can do that. What else? If you wanna, like, if your levels get a bit big, so obviously Kandria's map is like this huge, and sometimes you need to go and find a specific thing to edit it, like because you notice a mistake or whatever. And for that, you can go into Edit Select, which shows you all of the entities that have a name in the current world. And you can either select one or you can filter here. So if I only want to see chunks, filter like that, or you can just select one, okay, and it'll select that and jump to it as well. So now this entity is selected. What else? You can clone stuff if you need to quickly copy an element without going through the insert dialog, which is kind of slow and lame. Cloning is very handy. I think C is also a quick shortcut for clone. Or not. Is it not? Yeah, it is. Okay. So, I think the clone is always placed in the middle of the screen. It's not great, but... what else? So, save states. You can also, in the editor, at any point, save your current state. So, save state is the same thing as if you hit a save point and save there, so it just does it immediately there. That should work in almost every case. But so one of the reasons we didn't allow saving anywhere anytime is that you might be in a situation where it's difficult for the game to recover from exactly. It does try, but you might get some slight weirdness. You can also save states elsewhere if you want to keep a backup save of some particular point. You can use save state as. Loading state, similarly, you go back or you can load a specific state. So right now as well, the save states, this is actually important. Right now the save states are not set up to handle multiple worlds. So if you want to go and edit world, like your own world, and you don't want to lose your progress in the main game, do not save state to a standard, like do not just hit save state, because it's gonna ruin your existing save state for the main game. So ideally just like load up a save that you don't care about, or back up your existing saves first. That's another thing I do want to add, like support for a save state to handle different worlds, so you can have different worlds saved in the same save state, and you can switch between worlds without having to worry about like overwriting stuff or like losing progress or whatever. A question maybe for later. In regards to using Lisp, did you need to profile and optimize the code a bunch? Is this maybe affect game design choices? You already mentioned despawning entities once you leave a room for the garbage collector. Any crush dreams when it comes to maybe performance constraints? Not really, no. I have honestly spent very little time optimizing this game. I did spend a little bit of time like avoiding unnecessary garbage allocation and a couple optimizations, like the pathfinding algorithm had to be optimized, like rewritten once to be more optimized because the world is just gigantic, and at one point searching it was just getting slow, like very slow. But overall, not really, no. The despawning stuff is just like, it's not about the GC at all. It's just like, you know, you want to keep as little game state around as possible. So despawning entities that can't be seen anyway is just a good idea in general. Maybe add a warning if someone is about to overwrite their main save. So if you're editing the existing game world, then you don't want to have that warning, because you want to do that. And again, I want to have it be possible to have saves that support multiple worlds anyway. And so, you know, I'm not gonna add something like this in the interim. It's just something to watch out for if you're trying to do level editing before it's officially out, you know. But I'm not gonna do support for a feature that's not officially out. There's another thing here which is kind of weird. Save initial state. So when a new save state is created for a world, it has to know where everything is, where to place stuff at the beginning, and that's what the save initial state is for. So typically you just want to move stuff around without having to worry about accidentally overwriting stuff for the very beginning of the game. So whenever you do need to update where things are at the very beginning of the world or game, you use the save initial state thingy. Probably didn't catch that if it was already mentioned. Adding story, NPCs with dialogue, etc. is this part of the editor and included or likely with the modding update. So the world format includes the ability to create quests and dialogue and stuff, and you can create NPCs that can have dialogue attached to them, but the editor itself does not offer a UI for that, and I think that's a bit out of scope, or at least creating a whole suite of authoring tools to write the quests and dialogue scripts seems like super overkill, because you probably want to do that in a text editor anyway. So I'm probably not gonna do that, but it's possible. So if you want to do that, it's certainly possible. So actually that brings me to a good point. So we can look into the world file. So Kandria uses an abstraction for accessing data in the world. It can either be a zip file or it can be a directory. So you can also extract the world zip file and to a directory called world, and it'll just pick things up from there. The reason it's a zip file by default is that Windows is super slow with loading files, and the world contains hundreds and hundreds of small files that it needs to load in. Before we zip things up, it would take minutes to load on Windows, just opening all the tiny files. So that's why it's there. But like for development, we always had a directory, because it contains quest files and whatever. So anyway, this is the content of the world file. Let me know if the font is too small. So, but there's a setup.list file. This file is just Lisp code, and it's run whenever the world is opened. Or actually, it isn't run for the default world because it's cached, but for custom worlds, when you load them in this file, if it exists, it's loaded in. So what this does here is just it loads, it defines a setup function. This function is called when the world is set up, and then this calls load quest files, which loads all the quest files in the world. And the quest files are again just list files, basically. So like for instance, this is the achievement shop, or what is it? I don't know what a good one is. And it's again just Lisp source code. So one of the things to mention about the way the quests in the default in the main game are written is that not all of the dialogue stuff is removed, because it's externalized into the language directory where we can localize it. But you don't have to actually do that. You can directly inline the dialogue and whatever into the quest definition. So here, yeah, you see that already. You have a dialogue, and then it does the thing. So here for the interaction, I could add, and then I can just write some dialogue. Whatever, man. You know. So that's probably far more convenient than also shipping like language localization files. Samples to do that will likely be part of the second modding update. I'm not sure yet. Maybe. I don't know yet. I might do this for the level editing update, just because it's kind of cool to make your own quests and whatnot. But maybe not. Either way, though, it's going to require an external text editor to like write the quest files with and whatnot. So that's never going to be part of the in-game level editor. Right. Anyway, so this is just a bunch of files with Lisp source code. And that's how all of the quest data stuff works. Lordy. So aside from that, you have init, which is a directory which contains the default safe state that is loaded. So safe state is another directory or a zip file. And that contains some stuff. You don't really need to know what's in here, really. Maybe the story, maybe this, but again, just Lisp data. And then region contains all the actual world content files. So all the stuff that is actually tiles and entities and whatever. So again, a meta entry, which finds like who made it, and what version and what of the format it is. And then in it is this save initial state thingy, which encodes the save state for everything. And then data, which is the actual like descriptions of all the things and entities. So one thing you can you could already do in the base game, and somebody figured out, was that you can edit this file and it'll change what's in the game. And data is a directory which contains all of these hundreds of files. So whenever you define a chunk, it creates like 6 or 7 files which describe all the data. So the 0 to 5 are all the tiles, and then 0 to 5 are all the tile layers, and then the without a dash is like the solids, so the intractables, and then the graph is a cache of the movement AI data. It creates a ton of files if you have a ton of rooms. So that's the basic structure of the file of a world thingy. And that's very unlikely to change much further, but yeah. But yeah. What else can I talk about? Any other questions for me? Minutes to load on Windows should be tens of minutes on Windows VM. Yeah. Slow VMs are... Oof. I mean, it's a bit better if you're on an SSD, but it was still pretty bad. Even then, NTF is just kind of blows for small files. Like, it's really terrible. Maybe a question in regards to trial. Will this also get some documentation love? The ones from your other pinned repositories are top notch, thanks. So I do want to document trial more. I do that whenever I find a motivation to do it. But not for the level editor update. There will be a bit more for the modding update, but I don't know how much more at this point. Like both the level editor and the modding updates are like things where you could spend years doing stuff, you know, the never-ending kind of thing. But I do want to cut things off fairly soon because I want to get to working on new stuff. So I don't know how much I can promise. But there is going to be some stuff. Do you want to release another title? Yes. Obviously. What else would I be doing? One thing to say, if you try the level editor pre-release and you encounter crashes or other bugs, please do report them. I'll be gathering them on the feedback list and I will take care of them. So one thing for sure is that the level editor will be stable once it releases. So I don't want to have any terrible data loss or whatever's. So that one is guaranteed to my best ability. Ooh. Yeah, this is another neat thing, like the path tool there on the player. It'll show the trace, which you see on the map. But like this, you can see it a bit better because you can look at it exactly. Nice. I forgot I did this. Testing pathing. I'm happy for you that you got the funding and time to do that with it being open source, trial, etc. Your blog post regarding Lisp game development got me interested. I'm hoping for more stuff along this line. I'm currently hacking with the Raylib common Lisp bindings. Cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be real, but I did not get the funding to do that really. So, the money we got from this Kickstarter, is not even enough to like cover our marketing expenditures, for instance. So the stretch goals were more a way for me to say, oh look, I kind of want to do this. Let's see if we can get some more people interested. But it's not. It wasn't really a funding kind of thing. If I had to ask for money to actually fund things, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm gonna be doing this just because I feel like I should, or I want to, and I would like to see people do stuff with the things I built, because I feel like there is some potential here. But please don't misunderstand. Alloy looking nice. Thank you. It's a bit buggy still, as you can probably see from various things, but yeah. That's another thing I'm gonna need to do. Like, I need to figure out what the heck is going on with that text. Why is that offset like that? Like, why is it only the first one's fine, but the other ones are not? What? Don't get it. I don't understand. And there's like some weird focus stuff sometimes. I don't know. Certainly no misunderstanding. I didn't check a Patreon or something somewhere might work. Yeah, that's one of the things I was considering. GitHub sponsors. There's a GitHub sponsor for me. There's also Ko-fi that I have. I think you can go to support.chimera.com. And then Shirakumo also has an open collective if you want to fund the open source work we do in general. But yeah, I've been thinking about a Patreon as a sort of a thing to fund further development of games along the way while I work on them, but I haven't really decided yet, because Patreon is another responsibility with expectations and extra work associated. So I'll have to figure out what I can offer in addition. We're all grateful for the libraries you make, even if you don't make them specifically for us. I mean, I document them and stuff for mostly for everybody else, but I'm always happy to hear when people find things useful that I made, so that's nice. But I feel like we're getting a bit off track here. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention. So let's do this actually for this room. If we tile in a background, so if I'm on layer 0 and I start tiling in this terrible background, and let's do it maybe like that, and maybe like that. Another thing you'll notice is that it'll automatically sort of fade out the other layers. You can see better what you're doing for the background and foreground. And if I control click now, whoops, not like that. Wait, what? Why is it not doing it? Huh? Weird. Is it the other tool? Oh yeah, it's the other tool. Yeah. So if I use the paint bucket and then fill, it'll like automatically use the appropriate corner tiles for the background. So it generates those. So creating the background kind of thingies is not as big of a pain in the butt as it is if you had to manually place all of those along the edges. So that's another neat convenience. Is funding from regional, national organizations still an option? It is an option as soon as I have a concept. So once I have a concept that is presentable with a prototype, like a working game prototype is now required for pre-production funding. So once that's there, I can apply for Pro Helvetia again. But pre-production funding in Pro Helvetia is like very fought over, so there's always the most applicants for that. And who knows? A lot of people get rejected even if their proposals are very good. So it's like 20k if you do get it. 20k is the max you can get for pre-production, which is peanuts. So. Why is that frigging big overlay not loading? That's so weird. I'll have to look at that. Oh. Maybe I'll actually load up the main world. Oh, let me just probably use these two. Do it like that. Ugh. This may be very off topic. I'm a newbie to this world, but would it be possible now or sometime in the future to set up a 2D world, not with tile sprites, but like a map of some country with subsections, regions? I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. Do you mean like larger regions that you travel between, or like what do you mean? Like with boundaries? Sorry, I'm still not sure I understand. Imagine United States with separate states. I'm still not sure I understand. Be able to move from one to the other to select which. So Kandria is completely set up as an open world. There's no movement between different regions or worlds or like sectioning off at all. It's all one big thing. So there is no... Isn't there a game, Rage of Nations? I don't know that game at all. Where you can see a globe and move around it strategy. This seems completely unrelated to the game. Sorry. There's no plans for future content or whatever. What else was I gonna say? Not for Kandria, but for development environment. I mean, that would... You'd just be making your own game then, wouldn't you? I'm not sure I follow. What else? Oh yeah, right. So one thing to mention for spawners. Where is it? So... Aside from actual types of entities to spawn, there's another type that's not really a type at all, but rather a random set. So items. So this references the Region 1 cave, which is... Where is that? Here it is. So pretty much all of the entities that are spawned up into the game, like as you explore, are using these random draws. They're just a weighted random selection. So for instance, the ruined pelt is 4 times as likely to appear as the cloudy water in this spawner. So they're all like relative probabilities. So these are currently, there's a bunch of these that are predefined. Again, in the world's setup.list file, you can theoretically define your own. You can add new random spawners if you want to do that for some reason. Similarly, like all of the items are defined in this file as well. So if you want to look at like what items you can spawn in, you can find all of those here. Yeah. I would need to boot up the game to be 100% sure. I noticed that the room on the map view don't show the corridor connection point. Any reason for this? Also not sure how other Metroidvanias do this. The reason is that there's a lot of secret connections to rooms, and those will be completely spoiled, or people would assume that because there's no marker on the map, there's no secret connection, and then just never look for them. That's one of the reasons. The other reason, it's kind of just a pain in the ass to do it, and I just didn't want to do it. I wanted to push people more towards just exploring things on their own anyway, so I never bothered with it. A mod could do that, for instance, if somebody wanted to do that for whatever reason. Sure. But I just never bothered. Oh. Well, that sucks. That's a lot of things, isn't it? So one of the things I mentioned, that there's not just chunks or like layers that can have tiles in them. The other thing is moving blocks. So these falling blocks, or whatever you want to call them, those are also tile things. And then the other thing that can have tiles is a stuffer. So one of the issues is if I'm here, the camera is centered on the player, but then if I'm here, you see it does this diagonal pan, and during this pan it's going to show stuff that's contained in neither of these two chunks, and so that's what these stuffers are for. The stuffers just fill blank space. They're just a tile layer. You can put whatever in them. Usually I just fill them with one blank slate. So these are there so that the camera doesn't suddenly show background where it shouldn't see one. Still a couple places where we're missing stuffers where they should be. I think in Region 3 there's a couple things I noticed and then forgot about again. But yeah, so you'll want to make sure that all the camera transitions are buttery smooth. You're gonna have to worry about that, and it's kind of a pain. But yeah. What else? I don't know. What else can I say? Oh yeah, all the hubs were where there's tons of people, those are also just spawners that spawn in a random draw, which draws from a couple different types of NPC. Whoa, don't do that. And then it just places those randomly along the bounding box. Yeah. Elevators is another thing, so if you want to have an elevator, you just place it in there. The game will automatically give it like a unique name. And if you want to add a recall point so people can recall the elevator, you just paste that name into the target here so that it has the same name in there, and it'll call that elevator. And you can probably even do like, I could imagine like funky puzzles around recallers with like that don't just immediately recall the most adjacent elevator, but like do weird things. So maybe someone can have fun with that as a puzzle mechanic, but I never bothered with it. What else can I say? And there's other things, so like a few of the elements in Region 3, so like these gates, they're called gates. When you spawn in a new gate, so let's make a new gate. Gate. Okay, so gates are another tile entity thing. So whatever. But they have a child count. If I increase that, oops, I get switches. So now I have 2 switches, and here we go. And now, how did I do it? Right, so I place it in the closed state, so when it's closed, it's down there. Then I switch it to the open state, and then I place it where it should be if it's open. And then I can put it into the closed state again. And place myself here, and then we can see it working. Hooray! Amazing. I'm trying it out on my PC, been playing it on Steam Deck. I have no explicit wishes for the level editor update. I joined the Discord and provide feedback if I have some. Cool. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you have fun trying it out. What else? A couple of other, like the, there's also the shutter trigger, I believe. That's similar. So if you want to make a room where you have to fight the enemies, that's the shutter trigger volume. So that's a thing. I place that here, and then I increase the child count. I get a couple of these shutters. There we go. And these shutters are going to slam down only if the player is in the volume and also an enemy is in the volume. So if I place an enemy in there, the shutters are going to slam down until there's no more enemies in there. And then they raise. Amazing. What else? Yeah. Bunch of stupid shit. Yeah. There's also like triggers to do camera control, so you can do stuff like zoom out, like it uses in a couple very specific places. Whoop. Oh heck. Wow, I'm really bad. My excuse is that I'm playing on keyboard with default controls. I tested all of the levels on keyboard with default controls to make sure they were doable. And also because I'm frequently too lazy to reach for a controller, but What else can I say? Oh, right. Another element is the hiders. So this is a hider. A hider is just a secret, basically. A secret area. A hider is another tile thingy, and it stays visible until the player goes into it or touches it, and then it starts disappearing. So if you want to make secret areas, hiders are the way to go. What else? Oh, one thing. Right. I should talk about this. So when you're editing a chunk or whatever, and you select a tile like this, right, and you start painting it. If you want to switch to the next tile horizontally, you just scroll up. So previous tile is scroll down, so you can scroll through the sheet like really easily. You can see it in the bottom there where you got selected as well. If you hold shift and scroll, then you scroll vertically. So if you want to go through the vertical scroll like that, with this one you can see I'm scrolling through the wall tiles. So that's very convenient to do fast tile selection while you're editing stuff. Most of the relevant tiles are like closely together in the sheet. Another thing is like up here at the top you have a history of the last selected tiles or stamps, so do that, and then I have that in my history, so I can switch to this. So I start drawing this and then going back to that and paste that again. So also very convenient. There's currently no shortcuts for scrolling through the tile history list. I want to add shortcuts for that. I'm not yet sure what. Maybe control scroll? I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. The tile view down here. So this is another thing. If you shift click, why doesn't it update? It should update, but it doesn't. Heck. What you see here is the albedo. The albedo is basically a graphics term for the base color of the texture. Then the second one here is the absorption map. So the absorption map tells you how much light is going in there. So let's actually look at maybe a wall. So how much light like actually influences the pixel at this position. So the farther away from the outer facing edge it is, the less light is going to affect it. And then the third one is the normals. The normals also again influence lighting, but directionally in addition to the absorption map. So these are defined in a tile set and they're just displayed there for convenience and making sure that they're correct or correct-ish. Authoring all of this stuff is a pain in the ass, by the way. So if you want to make your own tile set, Godspeed, I guess. I guess that is another thing I can show you, though, for those that are interested in authoring tile sets. So just load up Sprite. So give me a second. Sprite is really hecked up on my computer, and fantastic. Oh, not region 3. So this is the region 3 file. The game has some tools set up to automatically like compile the correct files it needs out of an Sprite file. So in this case, you can probably not read it, but we have a layer called albedo, which is again all the albedo stuff. Then we have a layer called normal, which is the normal values, and then we have a layer called absorption, which is the absorption values. So those are just layered on top, and then you can edit those and sort of make sure they look all right. And the game will then compile those to PNGs, and all of the tileset ones, region 3.list, have a list file, and the list file tells those files together. So the list file tells me what the source base sprite file is, what the albedo file is, what the absorption is, and the normal file is. And then it has the tile type info. So this stuff is another thing I want to make easier at some point. I manually authored this stuff. It's a pain in the butt, but this information is basically used to tell the game how to create shadows and also how to make the auto tiling work. So these are basically assignments of tile indices to specific types of tiles. So left facing edge, right facing edge, top edge, bottom edge, top left outer facing corner, top left inwards facing corner, corner top, corner bottom, so forth. So these are like tile type assignments from the sheet. At one point I would like to make it so you can set these types in the editor, so you can click on a tile and it'll tell you the type of it, or the types plural of it, and then you can assign them in here and then output the file directly from there, because doing it by hand like this is just terrible. But I don't know yet when I will get to that. That's been like a thing I've wanted to do for like 2 years. And I still have not done it. So, but anyway, that's like all that's needed for a basic tile set where you don't have like, if you just disable the GI, so if you set it to none, no shadows or no lighting, you don't need the tile type information at all. You can just leave that out and then just have this basic info in there, and that should be enough. One thing also to mention is that every tile set needs to have the bottom row needs to be these tiles here that you're seeing at the bottom here, and these are, the bottom row is sort of reserved for tiles for the interactable layer. So you also always want to have these in here so you can actually edit the interactable parts. But yeah, what else can I say? So even if you look at like the debug tile set, it's the same here. It's much smaller, but same thing. Yeah. Lamo. Whee. But yeah, even if you missed the stream or have questions later, once you actually get to trying it out yourself, feel free to post in the Discord channel, or if you don't like Discord and don't want to support terrible companies, you can also reach me on all the other places that are mentioned on my website and send me an email or whatnot. So yeah. What else can I talk about? The modding update, yeah, as I mentioned before, it's not yet entirely sure like how extensive it is going to be. I definitely, in the very least, it's gonna allow you to create mods that have arbitrary Lisp code, so you can potentially change anything. It's going to have some stuff to allow multiple mods to like somewhat nicely combine, so you can like extend the texture with new data, so you can like add new animations to the player potentially, or something else, or add new tiles to a tile set. And hopefully I can figure out a way to make it easy for mods to modularly like combine together like that, without like having to have one mod that like dominates and then no other mod can add tiles or whatever. So that's going to be there. There's going to be a way to easily package a mod and distribute it to others. So it's going to probably just be like a directory you can place mod zips or directories into. And then there's going to be an in-game menu where you can manage the mods and also browse mods on ModDB or mod.io. And also upload them to there if you have an account. And share them with people. And same is going to go like, so initially the level editor update is not going to have the uploading and sharing UI for it, but the mods will also allow you to just share a world or a level with people rather than like a fully fledged mod with other changes. So it's going to go both through the same UI at the end. But for the level editor update, first of all, you're just going to like upload zip files for people to load into the game. Or maybe I'll start on the mod UI early. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe that's not such a bad idea, actually. I don't know. Maybe. The mod, the level editor update, I can't give an exact estimate on when that's going to happen or how long it's going to take me. But I would hope it'll be out by March or sometime in March. I'm not sure yet. Maybe I need an extended break as well. I don't know. We'll see. And then the modding update will probably take a bit longer, just because it has a lot more stuff that I still need to take care of for that. But yeah, hopefully soon. I'm gonna be spinning up the other next game project as well in tandem, so that's gonna take a bit of my time as well. But yeah. Any other questions in the chat? No? Alright. What a shame. Can you invert gravity a la Geometry Dash? No. I think trying to invert... So, So the Kandria does have the concept of different mediums. So like air is a medium, and then water is a medium, and like magma is a medium. And they have different friction multiplication factors, and they can have a different gravity as well. But it's not well tested, so trying to change gravity is very likely to cause some very strange bugs. I wouldn't try to bet on it. What you can do instead is like some of the wind puzzles use the wind to force you into an upwards motion for most of the room, which is, I think, a bit more interesting than inverting gravity, but you can play around with that. Like if you just set the wind speed to be like high enough upwards, it'll just completely negate gravity. But you can't, like, the player can't flip on her head. Like you can't walk on a ceiling or a wall. The game is not set up for that kind of thing at all. I'm racking my brain trying to think of other things that would be useful to mention, but I'm not sure. Because, yeah, the most important part is just the tiling and making the few level elements with the insert, but that's about it. Heck, I don't know. Does the editor have budgie support? Oh, I don't know. You're gonna have to ask them. I think they're declining to comment on the matter, so might be a bit too sensitive for them. Oh heck! Did I mistype that? Lord. Dang it. Whoops. Wow. What happened there? Was interesting. In the sense of terrible. That's some bullshit. Ah, my goodness. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just playing the game now. I've run out of things I wanted to say. There's still some, like, there's some documentation on, like, file formats and the editor as mentioned, but they're all out of date. They were, like, written 2 years ago about when the team expanded, or even earlier for some of the file format stuff while I was still working on whatever. Why did I do that? So might not be the best idea to look at that. Oh, you actually got a hit in. Amazing. Crafty. Lord. Some of these room transitions. Yeah. What? Still feel like the spike collisions are just... I never got those quite perfect. Heck. Yeah, this room sucks. Ah, Lord. Yeah, I forgot you can use the down heavy to wow. To zip down instead of having to wait for the wall slide. Really, no other questions in chat? That's some interesting physics. Whee! Dang. Fella actually got me. Wow. Breaking into a camp and slaughtering all those poor souls in their homes feels bad. I don't know. They're just gonna respawn anyway. It's fine. Why did that not hit me? Does it not have, like... It does hit. Weird. Alright. Blammo. Wow. All right. What can I say? I'm not sure. I wouldn't be a good podcaster because I'm not a stream of consciousness kind of guy. So I just shut up when I don't know what to say. When is the paid cosmetic DLC for new Stranger costumes coming? Never. But you'll be able to mod new costumes in if you like. For free. Why not? But no, there's no plans for paid DLC anything. One thing I would like to do, but I'm not sure if I'll like figure out a good way of doing it, is an additive load, so that you can like load rooms that will be part of another world. The problem with that idea is that right now the game is not set up, or the editor is not set up at all to like be able to manage different sets of rooms within the same world, so it wouldn't know which parts to save and which parts not to save. And I don't really see a good way out of that. either right now, so I'm not sure yet if I'll... It feels like something that's both a nightmare in the actual code and a nightmare in the user interface especially, so I'm not sure yet if that's going to be a thing. It would be very cool if you could like download world packs that extend the existing game, but I don't know yet. That's going to be a thing. We'll see. Maybe there's going to be a mod to allow that. Who knows? Anything's possible when you can write code. Are the different parts of the map currently streamed in, or are they all loaded into memory at the start? They're all loaded into memory at the start. There is no streaming. I wanted to do streaming. It's been a ticket on my to-do list for like 3 years. But the data that's required for the chunks is so little. It's just very, very little data that's needed for each chunk. So it's just like, who cares? Like the game needs less than 2 gigabytes of memory total. It's just, yeah, doesn't matter at all. Like the way things are stored is basically there's an RGB, or there's like a set of textures where each tile is like 1 pixel on the texture. So one of these chunks is like very, very tiny. It does not use a lot of memory at all. And then it only renders the ones that are actually on screen. So that's all. There's been no need to complicate things, and it would especially complicate things for the editor, or at least it would have to like load everything in once you open the editor, and that would definitely slow stuff down. The biggest advantage of streaming would be that the load times at the beginning are slightly faster, but that doesn't really seem worth it to me. It's already fast enough even on HDDs. That's yeah, whatever. Probably not going to happen as a feature. Oh, you saw me. All right. Have it on HD with ZFS and high compression, it still loads in insignificant time. Yeah. Especially on Linux. Like on Windows, things are slower because Windows, but yeah. Like the game is it has a heap size limited to 4 gigabytes. So can't even use more if it wanted to, but for a long time we accidentally developed on 1 gigabyte limited heaps because I forgot to change the setting, and then like it started crashing, but not because the game was too big to load, but because I had like one function that was taking a lot of memory to compile, so it was like crashing during compilation, and so we upped it to 4 by default, but like yeah, it doesn't. Limited by your SBCL settings or by some engine internal SBCL, yeah, the dynamic space size setting. Like I had an SBCL version shipped to my other team members, and I had forgotten to change the default space size during compilation. So it was like at 1 gigabyte for a long time, and then suddenly at one point they couldn't compile the code base anymore. I was like, out of memory, what? But yeah, so game uses like nothing. If you press F10, you see like stats of some stuff. It doesn't have a legend for the RAM thing. I think that's just like maximum heap size. So its current heap usage on this, I think it's 8 gigabytes that it's using. So like, yeah, it's like around 1 gigabyte that it's actually using of RAM. Or less than that, probably. So, yeah. Doesn't need much. All the memory used by more modern games is like to do with textures. Pretty much just all 3D textures, high resolution, 4K textures and whatever. And that's gonna eat your RAM. The VRAM display here, if you're wondering, is global, so that's not just Kandria, that's also VRAM by OBS and whatever else requires VRAM right now. It's not indicative of process usage. But yeah. Oh my god. Why is it still... Oh god, the express queue remote pad. I gotta mask that out so it doesn't pick that up again. Blech. Stupid. The combat got way easier compared to one of the earlier test versions. I remember having trouble fighting those guys currently on screen when I first encountered them. I don't remember the changes I made to the combat at all well enough to know, but I wouldn't be surprised if it got a lot easier. I made it even easier in the patches because people complained. I was like, whatever, sure. I'll make it easier. It's definitely too easy right now because you can just like, especially the weak attack chain is just like the stun locks. Just spam weak attack and you'll get through pretty much every encounter except the mech fight. So I'm not very happy with that. I'm not happy with the combat in general, but I can't be bothered to tweak it more. So. Bonk. But yeah, there's no other questions. Then I guess that's it for the stream. It'll be on YouTube as well as a VOD and on Twitch for however long they keep it. I think it's like 2 weeks. If you want to reference it and try some of your own stuff, it'll be available. And again, if you got questions, you can ask them anytime you want in the Discord or shoot me a message elsewhere. And but yeah, that'll be it, I think. Let's kill some grass. Or whatever it is. Wheat, maybe? Corn. I think Tim wrote in the text that it's potatoes. I don't know why he wrote potatoes. This looks like wheat to me. But potatoes definitely don't make wheat stalks or whatever. So, I don't know why he wrote that. But there you go. The wonders of game dev. Potatoes from the future. Future potatoes. Alright. Fair enough. I mean, you can always say it's future. It's a future. In 300 years, the potatoes have, like, been genetically modified enough that they grow wheat stalks now. I don't know. Alright. Yeah. I'll be on holiday for the next week or maybe even 2. I don't know. I need to take a break from fixing the game every day. If something burns really badly, like crashing and frying your motherboard and you want to blame me, then sure, go ahead. But otherwise, bug fixing and other changes will be deferred until later. But I will still be in the Discord. I'll be looking at messages. I'll be looking forward to seeing more people do the time trials and races and hopefully some speedruns soon, maybe. I'll be responding to questions on the editor and whatever else. If you have any and you want to already get started ahead of the release. How good is your corporate insurance? I might need a new graphics card. I don't even have a corporation. I'm just a little guy. But yeah. All things said, that's it. Feel free to shout if you have any other things that come to mind later. And yeah, I hope you have a good time. See you around.